Welcome to Breakfast Central.
What's that Yoruba slang? Gonna say anytime.
No.
Only flat.
It's Monday, you guys. This is Friday energy. I'll bring it on a Monday. Anyway, to our audience,
it's a good way to
joining
start.
us. Welcome to Breakfast Central. We hope that you've had a good weekend and that you're ready to get the week started. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a bottle of water to kickstart the morning. And if you have to leave the house on Monday because you understand no food for a lazy man, make sure to carry your phone with you and stream live on YouTube. Carry us with you, and we're taking your comments and your contributions in the chat box. You're welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Olive Emodi. And now let's start what we have come here to do. I was expecting that. Wake up conversations this morning. So there's a new sheriff in town.
There's NSAS today. Memorial. NSAS Memorial.
Yeah.
NSAS Memorial.
Today's actually 20th of October.
Yes,
that's true today, because I know the protest is scheduled to happen today as well. But let's first of all hold a candle for all the lives that were affected by the NSAS protest in 2020. October 20th, 2020 is a day that we will never forget, because it was the highlight or the culmination of activities preceding that day, where young Nigerians took to the streets to protest an end to police brutality. It was end SARS. And in these protests, we saw for the first time a unity that we hadn't seen in young people. People coming together, buying drinks, feeding each other, at the Lekki toll gate, what's the other toll? The other Lekki Koyi Link Bridge, but primarily the Lekki toll gate. And on the 20th of October 2020, that was the worst time. And that redefined how protests have been done in Nigeria. Young people, unarmed Nigerians, unfortunately, some of whom are no longer here today. And for a long time, there were denials about this not having happened. And the panel was set. External bodies and agencies gave their feedback about the NSAS protest. The likes of DJ Switch had their lives changed forever. She was live streaming the occasion, and today she's not able to be in the country because it feels like a target has been put on her back. Maybe not overtly, but covertly, because she was pinned as an enemy of the government. But this is the sad reality, that there are people who are there today that are no longer with us today.
Although the government will continue to deny that anyone did die at the Lekki tollgate area, because the question usually asked is if there were families who lost a loved one, then they should step forward.
Oh, they did.
And we did hear that some families stepped forward, and in continuity or in continuation of the entire case, while the white paper, what's it called, was served, we did hear that some of the families were no longer heard from. It seemed like some had attributed the fact that they went into hiding. Some said their lives were not secured, and so on and so forth. But the martyrs, in quotes, who had died have continued to lead many to remember what they stood for. They stood for an end to police brutality. They stood for an end to being pushed to the wall. They stood for an end to indiscriminate killings, and you could also say they stood for what many Nigerians thought would never had happened. Celebrities had joined forces with, you could talk about very important personalities at the Lekki tollgate, which seemed to be the citadel for the entire NSAS gathering. But then again, there were other states that were equally affected. Some other states too.
Let's not also forget that I think the aim of the NSAS protest was fulfilled, because shortly afterwards the SARS as constituted was disbanded, but we still have incidents of police brutality and high-handedness in the Nigerian police force. But just to let our viewers know that later on this morning, News Central will be bringing you an NSAS Memorial special. Yes, 2 hours from 10 a.m. To 12 a.m. You can watch us as we analyze and go through everything that happened, and also monitor the memorial protests that are set for different parts of the country today. As we all know, Federal High Court did give a ruling in Abuja saying that the protesters should avoid highly secured and sensitive locations around Shehu Shagari Way in Abuja, the Presidential Villa, the Court of Appeal, and also Eagle Square in Abuja. We have our correspondents in standby in different parts of the country to bring us the latest updates on that. So,
but just to clarify, that the protest that is being referred to, that is scheduled to happen today, is not related to the NSAS protest or the End Bad Governance protest. It's a protest spearheaded by Moile Sowore, the Take It Back movement, and a number of Igbo leaders who have also supported this movement. It is the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. These people are kicking against the way in which the federal government has handled Nnamdi Kanu's case. Recall that he's been in federal government's detention, even contrary to what some would say have been court orders. He's been held back by the government. He's been charged for treason and a number of other crimes. And his case has been frustrated, now started over again. And they're saying, really, just free this man. He asked for medical access to, get proper medical treatment, and he wanted to leave their custody to get proper medical treatment. They've assessed him and analyzed him, and after the assessment, they've come to the conclusion that Nnamdi Kanu is fit to stand trial. But there have been criticism about the way in which this case has been handled, saying that he's been charged for terrorism, treason, saying that he's incited people through social media to call for the Republic of Biafra. And it is all of these reasons that the federal government has held him down, even against court's judgment. So what the next steps are, we do not know. It would seem that the pushback against this protest, because there have been pushbacks from the police that attempted to use the court to stop this protest from happening, a movement that has failed, and the court has refused to stop this protest from happening. They've just designated that certain areas should not be protested at. But one thing that has been pushed for, one thing that has been argued against, is the manner in which many feel that he's been treated unfairly, and that this matter should have been resolved a long time ago. There are those, on the contrary, who also believe that this has gone beyond the judicial or illegal matter, and that it should be resolved politically. People have thrown their support for it. There are those who have kicked and stood against it, and there are those who have even said that they will do a counter-protest to these protests. And gentlemen, let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, having people do a counter-protest is what we've started seeing to become the norm here in Nigeria, where if anyone decides to go to protest, somebody will come out and say, I will protest your protest. It's basically like you have people who just sit down because of being jobless. They just want to engage themselves in one act or the other. They've been financially supported or induced.
Mobilized.
Mobilized. Yeah, I like that word. That's what they usually use. Mobilized, so they can now move from point A to point B. But notwithstanding, while we could talk about that it's exactly what we expected to see today, let's also mention quite clearly that as we proceed today, Good Enough News Central will be covering every single part of it. So you could trust us to bring to you updates and let you know what Nigerians are actually saying about this. But talking about what Nigerians are saying, can we also find out what Nigerians are saying concerning this story? Well, we'll talk about that in a bit, but let's move on to another one very quickly.
Oh, we're not taking on the story.
Well, later on,
okay,
maybe
right.
because
I want to mention a few bodies that have been in support.
Yeah.
National Association of Nigerian Students, which we typically would see throwing their support to certain causes. They have distanced themselves from the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. Okay. The ED of Lagos Trade Fair has urged complex occupants to shun the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. The NCOS have declared correctional centers red zones. Then NYCN cautions Nigerian youths against Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. And the U.S. Embassy has warned that there's a possibility of violence at the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest.
Yeah,
so
but
like
protest, an inalienable right of Nigerians.
Exactly.
As enshrined in the Constitution.
It is our right.
Who are all those people?
But again, I think going back to the fact that October 20 was a very sensitive time for protests in Nigeria, because October 2020 changed the trajectory of how protests are done. So I think there's a bit of fear and concern in that regard.
That's why some people are protesting other people's protestations.
Anti-protest protests.
Now you know.
Are they Protestants?
Anyway, let's move to the next story very quickly. Olive Amupitan is in the news as well.
Well, yes, the new INEC chair, Joash Amupitan, who is the first INEC chair who's a professor that has a background in law. Very interesting profile he has there. He's, of course, been congratulated and hitting the ground running. There are projections of what needs to be done to ensure that we reach that level of trust, to ensure that IREV the platform, the electoral platform where we review our results on the go, that is sorted, so that the glitches that hindered 2023 elections will not be an issue again. They're saying that they want to ensure that, everyone, good and bad, can applaud the authenticity of the elections. Let's listen.
I believe what happened in 2023, which was subsumed as a glitch, before we went into the election, my own understanding and based on the review of the decisions of Supreme Court, we found that there was no clarity as to the purpose of IREF. Not until the Supreme Court came out to say that IREF was not an electronic collation system. And that position was not properly brought out before the election. The INEC was supposed to be a safeguard for comparison, because the laws made by this distinguished Senate did not do away with manual collation. However, IREF was supposed to provide some guarantees and checks and balances. But owing to the issues of glitches, which in simple time, I understand as improper configuration, especially during the presidential election, that eroded the confidence of so many people. So, as His Excellency the Senate President said, I have to audit the system if I'm given the opportunity to see what is actually wrong and whether we have what it takes as it is now. Because it is not just the INEC responsibility alone. You have the other agencies like NCC, NIMC, and the service providers that will have to work together to ensure that we give Nigerians a technology that everybody will be happy about. And I want to believe that.
So there's a new INEC boss who wants to work on the IREV. He says, looking back in retrospect to what happened in 2023, the goal is to ensure that the IREV works perfectly well. But I would say that's a good move. That's a good promise. We do recall that the former INEC boss at Chatham House had made a very bold declaration. He himself said to everybody that, listen, during this election, we're going to transmit the results. We're going to use the IREV, we're going to use the BVAS, everything. He made grandiose promises. Everybody took it.
That's what makes Professor Amupitan, that's it, the former INEC chairman,
Yes,
Professor Amupitan.
this was where he made the big pronouncement. Everybody was like, yay!
We're good to go. You know, the verdict on the last elections and on Professor Mahmoud Yakub's administration as INEC boss is that people would always remember him as overpromising and under-delivering. And that's where Professor Amupitan is picking up the baton by saying that he will do an audit. He's starting from the right part. What went wrong the last time we had general elections? What are we going to do about the system? How do we instill trust back in Nigerians for INEC? And I believe, I mean, with all the necessary support it needs, and as staff, they should be able to, you know, restore confidence and trust in our electioneering system.
He has his work cut out for him.
Also, I hope the next time we have, you know, debates and the electoral season, we stop going to Chatham House. Chatham House is the equivalent of our own Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. So let's go to NIA in Victoria Island and have these debates and conversations. We don't have to go. What are we going to London for?
I know I
to
asked
discuss
that
issues that have to do with Nigeria.
Yeah.
Do the British Prime Ministers, have you seen Kemi and Sir Keir Starmer coming to Abuja to come and discuss British domestic politics? So
it's a working vacation.
This is 2025.
It's a working vacation that some of them use it to take.
It's a working vacation, I see. And they want to shop at Harrods and other places you shop.
I've not reached that age.
I don't know what you are talking about here. Let's see what Nigerians are saying very quickly so we can move on. Nigerians are talking about this concerning the professor. And Truth 23 says, this man is very intelligent. He has told you from the statement that IREV is not relevant for coalition according to the law. So even if he audits, it doesn't mean he will rely on IREV unless the law is amended. This professor is sound. I doubt if he will use IREV. Then what is he going to use?
I don't
Why is he auditing?
Okay.
Why did we spend billions by
Igwe says, why the screening if there is just one nominee? The people listening just want to feel as though they are doing the right thing. Igwe is not buying what the INEC boss is saying. Ejimo 4 says we can go fully electronic. There won't be much need for so much in terms of logistics. Vote on a display screen. Info is immediately recorded and registered on the system for review from the polling unit, collation center, and voters. It should be tracked real time.
This is what you call technology.
Technology.
That's what the Ejimo is asking.
But that's actually the truth. That was the hope that Nigerians had. And those were the promises that were being made, that they would be transmitted in real time.
Hope is not strategy.
It is not a strategy.
And it's one thing to wish for something. Implementation and execution is another.
Yeah.
He's just given a beautiful speech that he can't be allowed to implement. He's just sweet talking his way into the office. Once he gets the job, he'll work against this very speech he gave here. If you show him this very speech, he will say he was misunderstood or misquoted. You see how bad the level of mistrust has got.
I mean, the
this is how bad it is.
pessimism and lack of trust.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So where do you begin to change this type of person's mind?
So the only way, exactly, the only way that you can change this kind of person's mind and all the other skeptics is by ensuring that there is results delivered. If there isn't a result delivered, if they're not seeing the changes that have been made, the only way to convince Nigerians that INEC is on the side of truth and on the side of the people is to carry out an election so free and fair that the victor and the vanquished, there'll be really no victor and no vanquished. Everybody would agree that of a truth, this is the right election.
Just like what we saw in Ghana. I mean, before the elections rounded up, I mean, the opposition had just said congratulations already. Because it was
President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan.
Yeah.
He didn't even try to argue. He said, okay.
It's obvious that,
let's get to the point
That's
where...
what you call more work and less talk.
Yeah, it's not any small thing. Let's go to court.
Again.
Anyway.
I don't know.
Let's move away from the INEC conversation to our third conversation, which is... okay, Gbenga, please go ahead and take this.
I needed to clear my throat for that. And it's one thing Joe Hansen has been highlighting also in the course of our programming here on Breakfast Central. And I think the chicken has come home to roost, or maybe not fully, because there are those that don't see it as a problem. There are those that see it as a way of youth empowerment, which is negative. And sometimes the monsters we made will come back to haunt us. And I'm talking about the menace of area boys, because it's become a security threat, and they've become unofficial tax collectors in the markets, on your roadside. You pray not to get into an accident or you have to change your tire, because I really don't even know where they come from, and they harass and demand for payment just for you to change your tire or something like that. So this gentleman was driving and he ran out of fuel. So he had to go, get a jerry can, go to the petrol station, came back, and he was harassed by area boys who demanded for some type of payment before he's allowed to fuel his car. So let's just watch.
They are saying that he cannot, the fuel that he bought with his money, he cannot pour it inside his car. What's happening? Hey, this is funny. Different things are happening in Lagos State, not even Nigeria now. In Lagos State. Where the guy buy?
I mean, this is basically extortion. and the authorities need to do something about it. It's a ticking time bomb. It's not a ticking time bomb. It's a clear and present danger. They're everywhere around you in Lagos. They're just waiting for opportunities. I've also been a victim. My friend and I were driving down Western Avenue a few years ago, and we had a flat tire. And you should see, I mean, that's one of the wrongest places you want to ever have a flat tire. But what could we do? We had to stop to change the tire. And we just had to use all the wits, and of course we did transfer money. It was daylight robbery and extortion, protection money, so that they would allow us to change our tire in peace. It's really, really sad. I hope the government can do something about it.
I was just sharing with the team whilst the video was playing a message I received from a friend this morning who had a bit of a car issue. So I sent a message saying, how far, car sorted? And then I began to see a number of messages. I'm just scrolling there. All right. It says, the battery ran down while trying to start. So we took the battery to a battery charger. When we fixed back this battery, this car started once. While we were there, area boys came to visit. I went to get cash from one POS. I had to sort everybody for doing nothing, literally, but Adupe. And this is not a story that is particular to this friend of mine. Gbenga has shared his. I've had mine. In fact, Joe Hansen was with me on the day my own happened. I'd had a flat tire, I was driving to work, and I immediately called Joe. Joe was some minutes behind me. I literally had to park. Joe parked behind me, and whilst trying to sort it out, young boys came from different parts. From nowhere. And the thing is, you just don't know where they come out from. They just come out.
It's like they have some
It's like they've been waiting for you.
On the road, yeah.
And then they all just came out and they had removed my tire. We're about to change it and they said, oh. And the thing is, we didn't even ask them. We didn't even ask them. They were the ones, they would almost come and impose on you the need to change your tire for you. And they would remove it and tell you, okay, so now we've removed it. You must drop money.
And while they're doing that, another one comes and says, who authorized you to collect money?
Yes, so it was not like faction against faction.
Yes.
It was faction against faction. I think they were asking us for 20,000 that morning. It was about 5:30 a.m. 20,000. And it's a menace in our society. Something that needs to be
normalized it. We have accepted that we're going to live with this, which is highly dysfunctional. These are unemployed Nigerians. Some of them may be employed, but not gainfully employed, but it's no excuse to go around harassing. This is extortion, to put it lightly.
Let's call a spade a spade. If the Lagos State governor is watching, I think he has failed in responding to this crisis. There are numerous videos you find on social media where there's one a lady did recently. She put it out, if you recall, and she was screaming and calling the governor's name and saying, what is going on in Lagos State? And it's still happening till today. And the governor has said nothing. There's been no response, even from the FRSC. You're expecting that possibly they will say, oh, listen, from the police and so on and so forth. But it's nothing.
Radio silence.
Silence.
And they're getting more emboldened. Do you recall the video
yes.
of the Oshodi intersection where they were taking toll from pedestrians that were crossing the bridge? That's how emboldened they've gotten. And they have this, you know, this... what's it called? Entitlement mentality that you owe them something.
So the challenge for me is how, again, like going back to what you said earlier, as a society, we already accepted that thugs are a part of what our everyday reality is. From the moment you park your car, there's somebody, even if you're parking in a mall that has a parking space, there's an expectation that you have to give one of the Agberos their money. You're trying to build a house. You've paid for every necessary payment. Then you have to sort omonile. You're trying to move houses, or I'm trying to move something from my mother's house to my house. Maybe I decided to, you know, give her my fridge or change something. Or let's say I'm even moving my fridge to her house. I would have to pay the omoniles on the road. You pay at different points. They will collect money from you. Moving houses is another ordeal. So there are several areas we see them, and it's unfortunate that we've accepted the reality that paying thugs is part of our culture. It is not.
I think I want to pull a string this morning. I think we Nigerians were docile people. And I'm going to say...
But the truth is, what can you do? When you're stranded at 5:30 a.m.?
No, I'm not saying you should fight.
I'm not saying you should fight them.
You should take
I'm saying taking the matter to the authorities, to the government.
Now, by doing what we're doing, calling them out and making it a public health and safety
I'm not going to
issue.
say carry out 2 weeks of activism in calling for this, but if it demands that should be done, and there are people who have faced the heat, then everybody should come out and talk.
Okay.
And we have the power. We're just going to use our voice here because we've all been victims, whether you like it or not.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the individual scenarios.
Oh, no, you're just going to make things worse.
It's one person against like 20
he's talking about calling on the government, taking collective action, and holding the leaders accountable to do something about it. Youth unemployment, youth restiveness. Why do you think Circle Mall is always hit anytime these are crimes of opportunity?
All right.
There's a social process.
It's just sad that we're looking to wrap up, but we have to put this. This should be a special topic, by the way. I'm on.
All right. Do we have time very quickly for the final story? If we do. All right. Let's really take reactions to this story about thugs. This is a normal thing in Lagos. Boys are not alone. They are backed by the system in Lagos. If you buy a television, that you want to use in your house, you will give them money on every street junction. If you fail to do that, your side mirror or body chrome is already off. What? If your car suddenly goes off on the road, just come out to check it. You can no longer get into it without giving them money. Lagos has the highest rate of jobless youth in southern Nigeria that thrive on extortion. This person, this really just echoed my thoughts. When you sit and watch someone get harassed and robbed in broad daylight without doing anything to help them, forgetting that tomorrow it might be your turn, that's how this becomes a normal thing in Lagos. No one said anything when it started. Valid.
Anyway, all Chinedu Ezike says, make your car no break. Okay, make your car no break down for Chevron. Chevron, Aja, Ilaje, Ebamade Sonya or Ikota, then go beat you, still collect money. Aja own worst. LOL, Nigeria police go just look you come office. And that's the truth.
Happy customer service week.
That's the truth. And then the police is saying happy customer service. Who is the customer? Tiny customer.
You know, and the worst part is, even when people get into accidents, your normal human feelings and empathy, your humanity should kick in.
No,
this guy is still extra.
They come here and say, what's going on?
When Konga had an accident around that Chevron area, they robbed him. You know, instead of getting help. These are very terrible people.
Anyway,
and
it's sad. It's sad. But I think it's high time we place our focus on this particular subject. We'd like to wrap things up here this morning on Wake Up Conversation. Let's bring to you a lot that's coming up later on. But before we go...
Yes, I think this is an important story to take. Over the course of the weekend, the big story made the news. It was the story about the Senate representative representing Delta North constituency, Senator Ned Nwoko, and the issue with his wife, Regina Nwoko. Regina Daniels came out on social media to accuse her husband of violence. There were videos to that effect, and maybe we should share with you some of the videos and the posts to that effect. Let's take a look.
No. In Ned Nwoko's house, I am nothing. But in my house, I am a queen.
No, you're still as valuable. Mom, look at me. Look at me, Mom.
Baby, once again, I cannot stand the violence. It's too much. It's too much.
Don't go give water now. Don't go give water. Just relax.
Drink water. I beg, give her water, Daria.
Just wait.
I actually want something.
Just relax.
Wait. Shame on you.
Are you bringing out a gun?
Can you imagine this?
Please, ma, we are begging you, please, ma. Please, ma. Please, ma.
Now go is somebody who's fight. I mean, now go is somebody who's fight. Now go in the fight. Masami, calm down. Masami, don't do.
I will take you down.
Don't do. Okay, let me chase him.
So these are videos posted and allegations of violence against Regina Daniels. There's been a response, and the response is from her husband, Senator Ned Nwoko. He posted videos and clips on his page with a caption which we'll share with you shortly. And in this caption, but before that, let's also share her brother's tweets about, or his post on the stories regarding all of this. If our producers can please put this up as well, so that we can make reference to that. He says, Makachi, it pain me say una won't finally laugh my sister. Let me repeat, anywhere where man they beat woman, whether na my sister or not, I go fight with my blood. Senator Ned Nwoko, you get luck, say after you beat my sister again, smash her head for war, you run, come out, send thugs. I swear, I for bust all your jaw. He's gone on a series of rants on Instagram, on his Instagram stories. I don't know if we have the other ones. But there's also been a response by Senator Ned Nwoko. And this is his response. He says,
all right, it says, Regina was not always like this. Her current battle with drugs and alcohol abuse is the root of our problem. She must continue her rehabilitation program, or I fear for her life and safety. Now she has moved to a place where she will have unrestricted access to drugs. I have other wives and none will ever accuse me of violence. Regina is a violent one here, slapping and hitting 3 staff in the past 48 hours and destroying property, including cars and windows, for no just cause. The truth is, I have set a clear condition for her to accept rehab in Asokoro or outside Nigeria, especially Jordan, where she will not have access to drugs. A clear-headed Regina would have taken Moon to the hospital, but instead she even threatened to kill our resident nurse for exposing her drug abuse. While I took Moon to the hospital, a scene of chaos unfolded at home, orchestrated by Sammy, Regina's main drug supplier. Another known supplier of drugs to Regina is a tiny evil devil called Anne. Oh,
Tiny evil devil.
I mean, apologies.
so who is the
laugh,
Anne that he's referring to?
I don't know.
We don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. But the point is, when I saw the story, I said, listen, this is family matter.
Exactly.
It don't concern me.
It concerns also.
I mean, this sort of thing plays out in many families.
It concerns us.
But maybe because they are public figures.
No.
The issue of drug abuse, mental health,
The concern,
and domestic violence. Yes.
I push back, yes.
Okay,
It concerns us because
why?
there is a huge allegation of domestic violence, and it's because people like Osinachi did not speak up that unfortunately she has passed. She's no more. Because society will still keep shaming people and shaming women who have been abused and staying in their homes. If there is a claim of domestic violence, it should be investigated, especially
even the Senate Ethics Committee.
Exactly, especially when it's even with a public figure, a person who is supposed to be the keeper of laws. He's a legislator. In Senate crimes, that has a potential to wreck your career. If you don't see the seriousness of that and come to address it and allow a thorough investigation, because multiple sources, from her, from her brother, there have been allegations that this isn't the first time that this is happening. Open up yourself for investigation. And if truly he says that Regina has been taking drugs, he's a senator, he's a lawmaker. Why did he not report? Why did he not involve the NDLEA? If you really want to blame it on Regina that she was taking drugs, why was there no reports made? This feels like medicine after death.
Pause. Let's rewind. So a senator, a sitting senator, has a family member taking drugs and did not report to NDLEA.
No, you should have, no, not in that sense. I'm just saying you should have taken steps to address, and maybe, because we don't have the full details, maybe he's attempted to send her to rehabilitation, like he said in the statement. She didn't.
But you mentioned his suppliers too. How come his suppliers have not been caught?
Little and
you should have said it in no concern.
Exactly.
Why I said
No, it concerns us.
If we start talking now, we'll start on.
No. It definitely concerns us. It's public information.
These are the videos he put out showing Regina's anger issues.
According to him, I mean, these are the allegations, and also
smashed, cars and tried to beat.
And this is not to say that if Regina was violent and smashing cars,
we don't know the story apparently.
No. I'm analyzing from the information that has been shared.
Okay.
From both sides. This is not to in any way excuse violence. If Regina was violent truly, if she was smashing all those cars, then she should also be investigated, and she should be made to face the law. You don't go about trashing, property. And if she's really become addicted to drugs and has become, a risk to her family, that's also another issue that should be investigated. However, you must recall that this man married her a very young girl.
There's a 40-year difference.
She was 18 when she married this man. Wow. So she literally grew up in his house, whatever lessons she has learned over the course of her adult life, she learned while being Senator Ned Nwoko's wife. Whatever things she grew up in this house. Was she taking these drugs before she got married? These allegations of drugs, were they there? So the question is, he should be able to put his house in order, is what I'm saying. And if there are allegations about violence, shame on people who will laugh. I mean, you may not agree with Regina Daniels' choices, you may not agree with her lifestyle, but all the people who will come out to mock her because she's being abused and say, hey, sure, you went to marry an older man. Shame on all of you. All the people who will mock her as a result of that. It is her decision, but we say we will always kick against any form of domestic violence. It's terrible.
I agree with you.
What we're saying, and just to conclude, what we're saying is there needs to be an investigation. Let's know who is telling the truth.
Olive.
There needs to be an investigation into all the blood.
By the Nigerian police.
Yes.
Olive.
I don't think the Nigerian police is going to
I
act
dare
on this.
the Nigerian police to investigate this case, and I dare them to bring it to a conclusive end.
The Nigerian police has
I'm saying it, and that's why I said
I have no hope.
Because whether you like it or not, take note. When oftentimes you hear Nigerians say a family issue, it doesn't mean that we are trying to exempt ourselves from looking into that story. It's because we know where it will end.
Which is unfortunate.
That's how sad it is.
Because the truth is,
once the person involved in it has some form or a measure of power or entitlement on his shoulder, it's gone. It's a no-brainer. It's going to be wrapped up in a space where nobody will be able to see it. Whether you're a Nigerian, you're interested in this story, you can go online, fight, type, shout, make noise, story. Nothing.
So my question is, in the videos that we saw, where we saw blood that her brother posted, whose blood were those? The videos of her massaging swellings and all and holding ice to her face. Who inflicted those injuries on her? That should be investigated. It should be, again, like Joe said, what should be and what will be are two completely different things. But he's alleged that they've used the gun to hit her. And this is a call to women and men who are living in marriages where you're being abused. It is only the person that is alive that can fight for tomorrow. If you're living in a marriage where you're being physically abused, there's no other advice anybody can give you other than to live for your life. Because tomorrow you become a flyer, people will post your picture and say, hey, RIP. And after 1-2 days, everybody will move on from their story. They have the courage. What will people say should not be an excuse for people who are in, physically violent situation.
There's also a twist to that. That statement you just made, I'm also going to throw it as well to flip to the guys.
No, I said men or women.
I'm trying to bring out the aspect. If she was the one who was really abusive and I was attacking, then why was the senator still harboring her? Why didn't he say, listen, you are attacking the people, you're acting strange, going forward, you're the fourth, I think you need an apartment of your own, leave. And then he could put a mandate. But you see, like they always say, and like I learned, we don't have the full story. We don't know the details. And that's why I say it's a family problem. If the police decide to handle it properly, like they should, professionally, then the senator
due to
would
what
possibly
has
step
become
down.
public knowledge, like what Olive highlighted, like the violence, the body harm, and all of that. They have a duty to investigate.
These are not just flippant allegations. I can come now and say, Joe said something I didn't like, and the police doesn't, it's not their business to come into that, so long as there was no libel there. But this one is a
threat to life.
Or a threat to life. But it's a crime. If somebody alleges that they were hit, they were assaulted, it's a criminal offense. And a criminal offense is not something that you can say, oh, you know what, I forgive you. It's an offense against the state.
The police have once again been put on the spotlight.
Now,
our dear IGP, our dear police spokesperson, now, show us that you were really
let's find out what the truth
customer service
is.
Show work.
Anyway,
Happy customer
let's see what
service.
Nigerians are saying about this matter, and then we'll come to wrap Wake Up Conversations up. On X, we have a husband publicly admitting that the wife does drugs and abuses alcohol is not good for the sake of the children involved. Marriage may crash, but children's image and health should be respected and protected. Do better, sir. That's what Friday says. All right. This one says, Regina was not always like this. He's quoting him. He says, Regina was not always like this. Her current battle with drugs and alcohol abuse is the root of our problems. Dear Senator, abuse is not the root of your problem. What was she trying to escape from through drugs and alcohol? The right answers are the root of the problem. Interesting. Shegun Ajayi says, drugs and domestic violence, these two are interconnected, but hypocrisy won't allow people to see it. There's no way a wife could be high on drugs and destroy her husband's property without him trying to intervene, which might then be framed as domestic violence. And Saddam says, this situation is deeply unfortunate and calls for compassion, not chaos. I completely agree. If what's stated here is true, then addiction has become the real enemy, not either party. Drug and alcohol abuse destroy families silently, and rehabilitation, not public confrontation, is the only sustainable solution. Both Ned and Regina should prioritize private therapy, family counseling, and professional rehab for her recovery. Protect the child, lower the public noise, and let healing take the front seat. Families are meant to be mended, not mocked. While I understand where Saddam is coming from, I also, again, want to double down on the investigation of physical violence. If, from what we saw, there was a lot of scuffle in the video. There were allegations of her being hit with a gun. We could see blood. Whose blood was that? Who inflicted that thing?
Physical violence on all parties.
Yes.
Even the allegations that Regina was physically violent.
I did mention that.
Stuff.
I did mention that should be investigated. Nobody has a right to hit another person. The fact that the person is working for you doesn't make them your punching bag. They're not your child. And even with your child, there's a limit to what you can do. The West is kicking against any form of corporal punishment against children. You can't even beat children abroad. So why would you be beating an adult here? So I think that there should be a thorough investigation. But more importantly, just to highlight that people should learn to show compassion. Right now, there are those who, in all of this, she's always taking the fault as the younger person. They always blamed her for her choices. At the end of the day, it's her choice, what she wants to do. But what we shouldn't do is if she comes out to say she's being abused, to mock her. Because we're furthering a culture that makes people who are in abusive relationships not want to talk. And I'm talking men and women. For men, they won't want to speak up because they will feel like they are men and they shouldn't let people know that their wives are hitting them. And for women, they don't want to speak up because what will people say? What will people say will not save your life. I hope that we can do the right thing. That's all that we have this morning on Wake Up Conversations. Let's now share with you what our top stories are on Breakfast Central.